Have you ever met someone and known instantly that they are the one for you? I wish I'd realized sooner so that my teenage years hadn't been so full of drama and heartbreak. But you live and learn, right? And better late than never. By the way, I'm Versailles, and I'm 24 years old. It all began 14 years ago when I moved to New York and started at a new school. At that time, I assumed that moving from my hometown in France to New York would be no big deal. My mom and I were super excited and truly believed it would change our lives. Indeed, it did, but not in the ways I ever expected. On my first day at my new school, my mother insisted on driving me to school. When we arrived, I gave my mom a kiss on both of her cheeks and waved goodbye. My mom joked that she'd sort out any of the kids who dared to mess with me. I did feel quite shy, but I thought she was just joking. Turns out she wasn't. At lunchtime, I sat down at a random table, and suddenly this girl appeared and said, "What do you think you're playing at, sitting at our table?" I didn't even have time to reply before she picked up my lunch tray and threw it off the table right into the trash can. "I said, move," she said. Everyone was staring at us now. I was so upset, I just covered my face. I didn't want to be that crybaby in front of all these new people, but I couldn't help it. The tears started falling. Then something crazy happened. A voice boomed out through the cafeteria, saying, "Get away from her!" And then, the next moment, I felt a hand reach out for my hand, and when I looked up, this gorgeous, tall boy was standing there looking at me when he picked me up on my feet. "Excuse me," the girl started, but the boy continued, "What is wrong with you? Do you have a screw loose or something? Your attitude is so gross. It'll make me puke. You disgust me, and I don't want to be friends with someone like you." She stood there with her mouth wide open as he grabbed my hand and walked away. I could hear her scoff from behind me, but her facial expression looked as if she'd lost. I took his hand and followed him out of the cafeteria, and that's when he introduced himself as Ryder. We sat down outside, and he asked me if I was new around here, and then he told me he loved my accent. And he even offered me half of his baguette and said, "Hey, come on, chin up. I'll be your friend, okay?" The best part is that the girl who bullied me had a major crush on him, so she was probably even angrier at me now. But I didn't care one bit. After that, I can't remember a time when we were apart. We were glued at the hip and did everything together. He taught me how to skateboard, and I taught him how to bake my famous pastries. We were like the dream team. He made me laugh so much, and he helped me become more confident. Day by day, I could tell I wanted to be more than just his friend, but I didn't dare tell him that. Then my 12th birthday rolled around, and my mom gave me a diary. She told me to write down all of my thoughts, and even my crushes so that I could reflect back on it one day. Then she winked at me and walked away. Ew, what was she talking about? I didn't have a crush. Did I? Okay, who am I kidding? I had the biggest crush ever on Ryder. Every time I saw him, I felt like there were a million butterflies in my stomach, and I woke up excited every day because I knew I'd get to see him. And then the time came for our school dance, and my friends were teasing me that I should go with Ryder. I kept telling them he was just my friend, but I couldn't fool them. They saw right through me. Later that day, Ryder invited me over to play video games, and as we were playing, he said, "Hey, wanna go to the dance with me?" I couldn't believe it. My heart was thumping in my chest, but I tried to play it cool and said, sure, I guess. And you know what? We had the best time ever at the dance. I was for sure on cloud 9, and afterwards I decided to journal about it in my diary. I never wanted to forget that night. So I wrote pages upon pages of how Ryder made me feel and how I loved him so much. Little did I know how everything was about to change. A few days later, Ryder came over to my house, and as soon as I saw him, I had the biggest grin on my face. But quickly that grin faded when Ryder said he had something to tell me. "I have some bad news. My family and I are moving to London in a month." This is a joke, right? Come on, stop playing around, I said, trying to hide the worry in my voice. But he just stayed quiet, and by then I knew he wasn't joking. I couldn't hold back the tears, and Ryder just reached out and held me in his arms, comforting me. He told me it would be okay, and we'd still keep in touch, but I felt like my whole world was crumbling around me. This was the worst news of my life. We decided to make our last month together the most fun we'd ever had. We went surfing, skateboarding, stargazing, and even did karaoke. I never wanted that month to end, but of course, it did. On our last night together, we had a slumber party and stayed up all night waiting for the sun to rise. When it came time to say goodbye, he gave me a framed photo of the two of us and said if I ever felt sad, I could just look at it and remember the happy times. I wanted to tell him how I felt, but I couldn't, and so he left. I was so down that I ran upstairs and covered myself under the blanket and cried. Later that night, as usual, I was about to write my day in my diary when it was nowhere to be seen. I shouted at my mom and blamed her, but she just said I must have misplaced it. Now I had no writer and no diary. My life sucked. Summer quickly ended and it was time for high school. Even though I had my friends, my life wasn't the same without Ryder. But life goes on, and so eventually I tried to move on from Ryder. My friends told me that this guy Lucas had always had a crush on me, and maybe I should give him a chance. Well, soon we started dating, and even though I didn't have the same special connection with him as I had with Ryder, it was still fun, and it took my mind off of things. Fast forward 7 years, and Lucas and I were still together. The relationship wasn't great, but I had my dream job and was living in my dream loft apartment, so I couldn't complain too much. Plus, Ryder had drifted away from my mind. I decided it was time to really put some work into my relationship with Lucas. So one night, I told him I was working late and booked us a surprise trip to Paris. When I got home, I was so excited to tell Lucas, so I ran up to our bedroom, and to my complete horror, I found him lying in our bed kissing another girl. They didn't even notice me at first. So I screamed, "What are you doing?" Well, that got their attention, and the girl ran off. I thought Lucas would apologize, but he just said, "What do you expect? You won't give me what I want, and you make me wait for marriage." Then he stomped out of the room and said, "I can have any girl I want." I was so shocked. I just dropped to the floor and burst into tears. Finally, he showed me his true colors, and so I kicked him out. The next few weeks were some of the worst of my life, even worse than when Ryder moved to London. I felt so stupid for wasting so much time with Lucas. One night, I was particularly sad, and I suddenly remembered the framed photo Ryder had given me. I dug it out of the back of my wardrobe and held it close to my heart. My friends called me, tried to get me to go out with them. They did everything to help lift my mood up, but I wasn't interested. I just needed time alone to process everything. I thought to myself about how the only person I wanted to see now was Ryder, but where was he? How was he doing? I had no idea at all. Another depressing week went by. I was lounging on my couch, soullessly staring at the TV in boredom. Then suddenly there was a knock at the door. I went to open it, and oh my God, Ryder was standing there. Was this real or was I hallucinating? I was so surprised I just jumped into his arms and didn't want to let go. We must have stood there hugging for ages. And then suddenly Ryder said, "I have something of yours." When I let go of him, he was holding my diary. Turns out Ryder had been in touch with my mom, and when she told him about my cheating boyfriend, he decided to come to New York and cheer me up. And then reality hit. He'd taken my diary? What if he'd read it? Well, he had, and he said that's why he'd come to see me, because he wanted to talk to me about it all. I was blushing like crazy, and then he said, "I've always loved you, V. Even when we were kids, I've never stopped thinking about you, and I want to be with you." Then he reached over and kissed me, and I swear time just stopped. I'd been waiting for this moment my whole life. That week was like a haze of kissing and chatting and catching up on lost time. He told me about his ex-girlfriends, and I told him about Lucas and the cheating. Then I plucked up the courage and asked him if he'd like to go to Paris with me, seeing as the trip was already booked. Of course, he said yes, and the next week we flew there and had the best week of our entire lives. We went to the Eiffel Tower and even visited my old neighborhood where I'd grown up. It was magical. And then one day, Ryder said he had to do a bit of work and told me to go pamper myself at a local spa. When I was done, I had a text from him asking to meet him on the roof of our hotel. He was so romantic like that. I first went back to the hotel room where he'd laid out a black sparkly dress for me to wear, and then I headed up to the roof. I couldn't believe it! There were almost 1,000 roses laid out to form a path, and at the end of the path was Ryder wearing a suit. "I love you, V," he began to say. "I always have, and I can't imagine a life without you. Will you marry me?" I gasped in shock and screamed, "Yes," at the top of my voice. I'd loved him ever since I was a kid, and now my dream of being together forever had finally come true. I guess it took us some time to reach this point, but the best things in life are worth waiting for, right?
Long idling hours in class finally came to an end. Time to go home and chill. Huh? Are those thugs threatening a girl? Picking on the weak? Such cowards. Oops, she saw me. Now they're all looking at me. As a Muay Thai prodigy, I most definitely will run as fast as I can from danger. It's not me. My legs have a mind of their own. Besides, I stood no chance against those big, scary guys. I might get myself hurt if I tried to help. Then she'd call me a jumpy idiot. Yet some part of me still wished I could do something. While I was pondering from afar, a guy charged at them out of nowhere, then knocked them all out. Looked like he knew martial arts. Like me. I'm Jamie, by the way, and my story's absolutely normal. Please like and subscribe. I didn't expect to see my dad home this early.
Sweetie, you're back already. How's your day?
Hi, Dad. All good. It's been just me and my dad since my mom passed away when I was little. He's the best dad I could ask for, but he's shunned by this entire town. He's one of the firefighters who reported to a tragic fire accident around a year ago. They managed to save many lives, but unfortunately there were casualties. After that, the fire department became the town's scapegoat just because they couldn't save everyone. However, I could see better than anyone how much my father had sacrificed. He always covered up his left arm and told me not to tell anybody about it. He considered it part of his job and still felt guilty about that tragedy. More importantly, he taught me to be willing to help others no matter what. Little Jamie did listen to him and was always helpful, but no matter how hard we tried, we still had to endure the townsfolk's woulda, coulda, shoulda nonsense. So I now live by my own rule. Don't be a hero. Hey, it helped Jesse Eisenberg's character survive Zombieland, so it'd surely get me through my life. And so the happy little girl now wears a permanent scowl on her face like her armor. Thanks to my tough exterior, no one would ever pick a fight with me, or speak badly about me, at least not to my face. Side effects included having no friends, getting pushed around by teachers, and being brushed off most of the time. You know, the usual cold shoulder. The next day, I was enjoying a good old boring normal day when I suddenly was summoned to the principal's office. For bullying a fellow student? What? Turns out, the damsel in distress yesterday, Betty, reported everything to the principal while conveniently placing me in that gang. I tried explaining myself, but my efforts seemed to be futile.
Can't say I'm surprised. Like father, like daughter, I am seriously concerned about my students' safety, especially since street violence reigns in this area lately. Such terrible behavior is even more serious coming from you than those imbeciles.
Good heavens, I hadn't even touched a single strand of hair on anyone's head. Poof, she obviously is blaming me simply because I didn't help. But speaking the truth would be like adding fuel to the fire.
I believe the proper punishment for you is immediate suspension for 2 weeks.
No, sir, I can't be their accomplice because I was gonna start a self-defense club for girls. Just like you, I worry a great deal about multiple attacks recently. Therefore, I want to help them be prepared. I was trying to recruit Betty, but she was surrounded by so many of them while I was all alone. That's like fighting a losing battle. I actually ran away so I could, report them to you. Betty must have mistaken me for one of them. My gibberish speech went on for a good while before he finally let me go. I had to bluff my way through his many questions. Where does the club take place? When? How many members? And since he said he'd come by sometimes, I actually had to create a self-defense club and begin recruiting. The first day of the club, only a few girls came. Fine, I don't have much care for this stuff anyway. It's merely an excuse for me to be let off the hook. I grabbed the 2 tallest girls, then asked them to demonstrate a couple moves so the rest could follow their lead. When an assailant strikes, cross your wrist to trap his arms. Jump, and boom! Boom. Yeah, boom! Did I do that right, Jamie? Jamie? Yes, that's it. Don't be lazy, okay? Then I got back to scrolling on my phone and saw that Betty had gone public about the incident. Even someone as indifferent as me could see how much sympathy and attention Betty got after that. Her story's influence went beyond the internet when our school launched a No Bullies Allowed campaign and chose her to be the spokesperson. However, they could only propose outdated and ineffective measures, like always traveling in groups, bringing pocket knives or pepper spray, or giving in to not get any serious injury, none of which really helped, and more students fell victim. A few days later, right before English class, I saw the Good Samaritan that day. He's Aaron and transferred from another school in the area. Come to think of it, he's quite a heartthrob, which got all the girls all riled up. Do you have a girlfriend? What's your type?
Sexy, cool, nerdy.
I know, nice and sweet?
Yes. Oh, Mr. Bernardi's here.
As usual, Mr. Bernardi began the lesson with a pop quiz. Today's topic was Hamlet. Okay, I knew this one.
What's the play about, Teddy? A guy named Hamlet? Good, B+. Any other idea? Jamie?
The play works on many levels. It's about Prince Hamlet's family conflict, their politics, how he can't make up his mind about duties, moral codes, and...
Stop! F. You're reading too much into it.
Well, I should have seen that coming.
You suck. What did you say, Aaron Taylor? I said, aw, shucks.
Wow, this guy's so much more than just a pretty face. When class was over, I came to thank him and even got his socials. He's a super handsome guy with a voice of an angel who defended me. I think I got, well, you know. Let's see what his social says about his type. Oh, Betty seemed to be gaining more and more support, huh? I guess people have more compassion for delicate little flowers like her. Wow, nice. I had zero chance then. Suddenly I heard a commotion outside, then peeked out to see my father dealing with rude neighbors. Man, I can't live the life of the local doormat anymore. If so, I had to change first. I can be like her. All right, starting today, call me Dainty Jamie? Ugh, I'll figure something out. But my life will surely be different. Aaron, your girlfriend is coming. I'll certainly need a new look to go with my new personality. The Princess Diary would be the perfect tutorial. First, I have to look like a princess. So I replaced my sneakers, hoodies, and t-shirts with high heels, short skirts, and all things pink and glittery. Of course, cute accessories are a must. Ting! But it would be lying if I said this new style was comfy. This morning, my long hair got caught in a keychain on my backpack. It was impossible to untangle, so I had to cut off a chunk of hair. You know what they say, pain is beauty. I went to school in my new style, and the moment I set foot in the building, people stared at me like I was an alien. Then the mocking began. Look who's talking! Last time I saw something like you, I flushed. Oh dear, that wasn't very ladylike. So I decided to change my tone to sound posh and even learned how to sit, stand, and pick up dropped items elegantly. Greetings, Mrs. Allen. Can I have mashed potatoes and beans, please? What's that? Speak up, young lady. I'm sorry. Can someone be a doll and help, please? But they just looked at me all judgy. Stay calm. A lady doesn't panic. I slowly sat down with poise, but someone already picked up my tray. Aaron! He's freaky fast. Being a helpless pretty girl sure is nice.
Jamie, you look different.
I've always looked like this, silly. Since then, we started having lunch together. I felt safe around him because he's new here and didn't know about my past. We gradually became close as we've had many things in common, like martial arts. I really wanted to let my geek flag fly high, but had to hold back. Still, it didn't mean he's used to the current me. Like, he'd not understand that I was trying to eat gracefully.
Are you a slow eater or just picky? Give it to me.
I was saving it for last. Also, he often brought me honey and lemon candy. Sweet! But that's because he thought my soft voice came from a sore throat. Aaron, I was looking for you everywhere. Come, I want to show you something cool.
We're kinda in the middle of something.
Why are you always with her? Let me tell you, her father... Come here, you have to see this.
What is it?
Flowers. Yeah, flowers. Aren't they pretty?
You're weird. Like, in a good way, but weird. Are you trying to hide an earth-shattering secret? Like your true self? Am I wrong?
No way. What else can I be but myself? You watch too many movies. To keep up my fair lady appearance, I shouldn't come to the Fight Girl Club so frequently. Since the principal wasn't breathing down my neck anymore, I hadn't been there for the past 2 weeks. Meanwhile, I tried to talk to Aaron more often. He's very nice. A bit too nice, as in he literally took pleasure in helping others. Today, although we're supposed to walk home together, Aaron canceled at the last minute cause...
So sorry. Betty needed someone to walk her home, and today none of her friends could.
How are you always in the mood to help people?
Dunno. It's fun, I guess.
Aren't you afraid your kindness will be taken for granted or getting you into trouble one day? Well, never mind. Have fun.
I'll make it up to you. Bye.
I'm fine with that. It just stings because it's Betty. Actually, Aaron wouldn't think twice about assisting a complete stranger, let alone a classmate. Was I even a little bit special in his eyes? I want to come clean to him, yet I'm afraid that will only make him distrust me and leave me like everybody else. This uncertain hell is driving me insane. I'll ask him out to clear things up. Ugh, just a dumb text from my self-defense club. Delete! Eek! He said yes! That's a good sign. Sunday came, and after we bought our tickets, we saw a girl struggling with dozens of grocery bags. Oh, that's Pooja from school. Aaron hurried over to help with the bags. We had some time before the movie started. We walked her back and found out that she's volunteering at a soup kitchen for homeless people.
Thanks so much. You two are here anyway. Want to join us? We always need some help here.
What? Free labor?
Absolutely,
we're
no
sorry.
problem.
We got tickets to a movie, right, Aaron?
I don't think it's too late to change our plan, though.
I had to pull him aside immediately. Aaron, what if we're too helpful so they keep us here until late? If not, we'll get yelled at. And if we leave early, they'll have something else to say. I don't know. Maybe this isn't a good idea.
Come now, so complicated. Just flat out say you don't want to help.
Don't be ridiculous. It's our date, and we shouldn't let it go to waste.
I'm ridiculous? Okay, but at least I'm not selfish and conceited. You don't want to feed the homeless? I'll stay and give them a hand. You can leave.
Hey, what's the matter with you? Don't think you're better because you help everyone you see.
Oh, so now we're being honest? Fine, my turn. I didn't listen to what everyone said about you and still became your friend. Turns out they're all right after all. Like father, like daughter.
What are you talking about? You knew everything?
Yeah, I'm not dumb, and that's not all. Now I finally believe my dad died in that fire because of your dad's negligence.
Then he stormed off, leaving me stunned. I could see he rolled up his sleeves and began happily working, while I was left out here with my heart broken. They say gymnastics is the queen of sports, and I say I'm at the queen moment of my life. I made the perfect landing and earned the gold medal. As I strutted back to my spot, this man rushed over to me.
Your skills are impressive. I'm Nick, the Nationals coach, and I want you on my team.
My ears began ringing, and my head felt like it was spinning, and I thought I was going to puke. The nausea wouldn't go away, while my super excited teammates kept pestering me. Say yes, Kylie! This chance is one in a lifetime. I can't take it anymore, so I opened the door. No, I don't want to have a man as a coach. I hate you. I hate men. Hi, I'm Kylie, and there's a valid reason why I dislike men so much. My mom passed away when I was little, and instead of spending time with me, Dad became a serial dater. He always made excuses.
People can't live without love. You'll understand when you're older.
If this is what love did to people, then I didn't want it. I swore to never fall in love. Nuh-uh. I went to an all-girls boarding school, and as the years passed by, my hatred towards men grew. Just being around that man smell made me feel dizzy and nauseous. At home, Dad was waiting for me with his typical Hulk look.
Kylie, why did you refuse to join the national team? Why turn down your dream?
My dream or yours? As if you care. You were never there for me.
That's your future, Kylie.
I'll be fine. No way universities would turn down my talent.
But what if you couldn't graduate?
Dad, my grades might be bad, but I'm not that dumb.
No, my business isn't doing so well. I can't afford your tuition fees anymore. You'll have to move back home.
What? If I don't graduate, then I can't go to uni. If I can't go to uni, then I can't find a job. And if...
There's still this scholarship offer from another school for you to consider, though.
I immediately agreed to it. I couldn't sit here watching Dad flush away my dreams with his incompetence. Yeah, a new environment might be a bit challenging, but I'm a tough girl. I can do this. Only the next day, Dad dropped me off at a fortress-like building that was, apparently, my new school. And to add more to the problem, standing there to greet me was a boy. Ugh! Now I officially had bad vibes about this place. I reluctantly followed him to the vice principal's office, and I had to sit there with my mouth covered. He pushed a form towards me.
You don't look so well. Just let's get this done quickly. Please sign here.
Then the vice principal reached out for a handshake.
Welcome to St. John's All Boys High School.
Sorry? All boys?
Yes, that's correct. You're the only girl here.
I barged out of the room. The corridor was full of boys. They were everywhere. Welcome home, Rosie.
We've been waiting, Rosie.
I tried to dash past them, but it was so overwhelming that I tripped over my own feet and this boy stopped my fall. But my churning stomach had something to say. I threw up all over him. This boy shrieked out and let go of me. Everyone gawped down at me like I was some sort of exotic bird. With whatever dignity I had left, I pulled myself up and limped back into the vice principal's office. I reject the scholarship.
You just signed the paperwork. You can't just leave.
I was so mad and speechless. Dad must have set this whole thing up. It seemed I had no choice but to endure this hellish place. So, on the first day of school, I covered myself from head to toe like a ninja. But what are those banners? For me? I went into the classroom trying to not throw up. This place was seriously weird. I didn't sing, and I wasn't called Rosie. When the teacher told me to introduce myself, I decided to use this opportunity to set some ground rules. My name is Kylie. I don't sing, and you're all gross. I demand that you stay at least 6 feet away from me at all times, else I will backflip kick you into another dimension. To my surprise, the students weren't intimidated. Instead, they all applauded and wolf whistled me. Ugh, I hate boys! I trudged over to my seat and was about to sit down, but then someone kicked my chair away. I turned to glare at the culprit. Oh, it was the boy I puked on yesterday! Stay away! I don't want any more vomit on me.
Kylie and Jerry are both new students, so help them settle in, everyone.
So, Jerry, huh? He glared back at me in the midst of all the Cheshire cat grins from the other schoolboys. Oh, this is gonna be hell. After class, the boys followed me every step, so I had to do a somersault to get away, but that only made them cheer louder. I rushed back to my dorm, but the situation was not better. Had they never seen a girl before? I locked myself in my room every night and only left to make a quick dash to the canteen for food. After a week of living like this, I was so not okay. I was miserable in class and lonely at night. One evening, I was scrolling through my phone when I saw a hiring post from a cafe near my old school. If I had a job after school, I could avoid the weird boys and hang around with my old friends. So I applied for the job, easily got hired, feeling all excited until I bumped into Jerry.
Why are you here?
I hurried out of the kitchen. What to do now? Is this jerk haunting me or something? But I really needed this job, so I stuffed a piece of paper into Jerry's locker, saying that as we both snuck out of the dorm to work, let's keep this secret together. And surprisingly, he agreed to that. But that wasn't the only problem. I encountered a slippery issue, having butterfingers. I spilled coffee all over the floor, then slipped on it, dropped a cake on some woman's lap, and man, the amount of cups I've broken. I begged the owner to give me one last try as a baker, but the final products were horrifying. I was feeling disappointed when I heard someone say,
"Classmate, need any help?"
Oh, Jerry and his man smell. I rushed to the bathroom.
Is everything okay in there?
I'm okay. Just stay there. I'm allergic to men. I heard Jerry laugh, so I explained to him how I was being deadly serious, and being around men made me nauseous.
Oh, so that's why you threw up on me that day? Hey, maybe I can help you with your job.
Yes and no, I don't need your help.
I'm not doing this for you. Oh God, what are those? Breads?
I know, it's horrible. Please stop.
Kylie, as a devoted employee of this cafe, I insist on doing this for the customer's safety.
On hearing this, I agreed to let Jerry help me. Thanks to his remote directing, I finally made a successful batch of bread and managed to keep my job. Since then, we have become a lot closer. Jerry had this idea to cure my allergy to men. He slowly let me approach boys at my own comfort level. At the cafe, he encouraged me to take the orders from male customers. At school, he helped me study in a group with some of his friends. At first, I was wary of them, but I guess they weren't so bad. Not only that, they also threw me a Boys 101 intervention where they humorously analyzed boys' behaviors to help me get along. From how boys greet, "Yo, what's up?" how they posed for cool photos, to the way a typical boy flirted.
Are you a parking ticket? As you've got fine written all over you.
That's how you flirt with girls? Hilarious!
You don't like it? But what if I tell you I was being serious? I like you, Kylie.
I immediately covered my mouth, but not because I felt nauseous. What should I do? Say yes or... Suddenly my phone rang. It was Dad.
How's school, sweetie? Got a boyfriend yet?
That's all he cared about? Right. That reminded me that all this was just Dad's setup and I can't give him what he wants. No boyfriend! I yelled, then hung up. I turned around to tell Jerry to stop joking around, but the boys were already pinning him to the ground. How dare you flirt with Rosie?
She's mine, not yours.
Stop! I grabbed a magazine and declared, I'll never date any of you, ever, because this is my type. Now, get out! But the next morning, I arrived in class to see all of the schoolboys in wigs and dresses. They mobbed me, and thank God, Jerry dragged me out of there just in time. Don't you find them odd? They became extremely competitive around me and kept on calling me Rosie. Jerry said he didn't understand either. Something's very fishy about this whole scholarship thing. So we snuck into the administration office to see if my file held my answers. After searching for a while, I found it. But whoever was being described here was not me. I wasn't a straight-A student. I didn't sing nor play the guitar, and I wasn't a social butterfly. Then Jerry passed me a binder labeled Only Rosie. There was a school legend that when Rosie appeared, the only flower in the garden would bloom. Rosie's magic was so powerful that every male student would fight for her love. There really was a flower blooming in the garden, which means I was Rosie. So they only love me due to some rusty magic? I bet it's the same for you. I couldn't stay in this insane school any longer, so I went home and curled up in my room. On hearing a knock at the door, I peeked out and saw Jerry? I slammed the door shut.
Kylie, listen, this is all me. No magic whatsoever. At first, I thought you were a queen bee who liked the attention, but being around you made me realize you're a clumsy, cute crybaby, but also a strong girl who tries to stand on your own 2 feet. That's the reason why I like you. Are you okay?
Go on, please.
I like you because you're Kylie, not Rosie.
I couldn't hold it in anymore and burst into tears. I finally opened up to people, but it's all fake. None of them wanted to be my friends. They only like Rosie. Then Dad appeared. Of course, it was him who let Jerry inside. Seeing me like that, he seemed sad, then sat me down to say something.
Actually, your mom used to go to that school too.
Mom was a prodigy who excelled at both studying and singing. When the school's reputation was declining, the principal broke the rules to invite her to attend the school, in hopes that she would lead them to some achievements. At first, the male students objected it, but gradually with her talent and good nature, she gained their respect, and they fondly called her Rosie.
Your mother was incredible, and I couldn't believe my luck when I won her heart. I felt so lost without her that I tried to fill the void. I jumped from one relationship to another, leaving you all alone. Only later did I realize I could still find joy in life even without Rosie by my side. Kylie, I risked sending you to that school because I wanted you to face your fear. Don't dismiss love just because of your painful past, like I did.
I finally understood where Dad's behaviors came from, and I felt so sorry for him.
Sorry for interrupting, but if Kylie's mother was the first Rosie, and her magic immediately charmed everyone, then why did she face objections at first? Oh, actually, Only Rosie is merely a myth. There's no magic involved at all. Over the years, the story must have evolved into that fairy tale.
Now that Jerry mentioned this, I realized my file looked more like Mom's than mine.
Even before entering this school, everyone was talking about you being a musical prodigy and only dating top students. It's like someone created a fake image to make you irresistible.
Dad said it was the vice principal who offered the scholarship. We put 2 and 2 together, and we were convinced that he must be behind all of this. Dad and I went to school to confront him, but he denied everything and even expelled me. The next day at work, Jerry told me something big.
There are rumors about another schoolgirl. It looks like the vice principal wanted to find a new Rosie.
This had to stop. He couldn't keep on using girls like this. It was about time his lies were exposed. The 3 of us falsified tons of female students' applications and finally got selected. On the day of admission, Jerry disguised himself as a girl and me as a boy, then went to school together. All the boys gathered around Jerry and gawped at him like he was the new iPhone or something. Then the vice principal introduced him as their new female student, Jessie.
Hi, I'm Jessie, and I want to tell you a secret.
Then he started ripping off his wig in the most dramatic way ever, leaving all the students gasping in shock.
What? You don't think I'm pretty?
Poof! I gripped my stomach and tried to control my laughter. You're very pretty.
Oh, silly. I'm not just a pretty face. I'm also a musical prodigy.
Then he pulled out a violin and started making scratchy noises, deafening everyone.
Not to mention, I'm a very delicate little flower.
Then he broke the violin in half before everyone's terrified eyes. That's my cue to step in. I took off my disguise and pointed at Jerry. Sneaky little snake, you trying to steal my men? All boys in this school are mine. Then I charged at Jerry and grabbed his hair.
Why are you here? I've expelled you.
Everyone was astonished to hear that and questioned the vice president about it. Then I waved the flower I was holding around. Guys, there is no Only Rosie. This is the flower that heralds Rosie, and it looks pretty fake to me. The boys became even more heated towards the vice president.
Fine, I did it. So what? Only Rosie's not real, as long as it works. I only did this to revive the school anyway. This school deserves a principal who's as dedicated as me, not a has-been who never even shows up and could have retired by now.
He was hopelessly yelling while a group of disgruntled students dragged him outside. The rest ran over to me and said they missed me. So even among all the lies, our friendships were still real. And better still, I didn't feel dizzy or sick at all now. Everyone was here to cheer me on. The boys, Dad, and of course, my soon-to-be boyfriend, Jerry. We're not dating yet, 'cause girl gotta play hard to get. Suddenly, a voice interrupted our celebration. It was Nick, the national team's coach's voice.
Great performance. Any chance you've reconsidered joining the team?
Reconsidered? Nick, count me in 100%. No, 1,000,000% in.
Little Jasmine was playing football with her friends when they stopped because someone had to go pee. Yeah, I gotta go too. They all went to the woods, and Jasmine's jaw dropped upon seeing them. What in the world? Why are they all peeing standing up like that? Jasmine is the youngest child and only girl in an all-boy family. Her mother passed away when she was born, so she grew up with her father and 3 brothers. Her dad is a successful businessman who can ensure a happy life for his 3 sons, but struggles with Jasmine because he's only used to raising boys. Although he tried his best to raise a daughter, Jasmine became more like a 4th son. She has short hair, dresses like them, and plays her brother's games. She even tends to skip showers for days at a time. Her bedroom is messy and decorated with boy stuff. Her brothers even gave her a boy's name. One day while playing, her eldest brother Gary called over his younger siblings. Roll call! Like soldiers, the 3 younger siblings lined up from tallest to shortest, proclaiming their names loud and proud. Gary, Aaron, Nick, Jasmine? Her brothers looked at her, frowning disapprovingly. Then Gary had an idea. Nah, that doesn't sound right. How would you like a new name? A new name? Not a real new name. Just a nickname. Something cool we can call you. How about that? Sure. How about we call her Gucci? Gucci, like the luxury brand? Yeah, it sounds cool. So, how about that, Jasmine? You like Gucci? Jasmine nodded, and from that day forward, everyone called her Gucci. She learned to like it more than her real name, and as she grew up, she just assumed she was a boy. That is, until the incident happened today. Feeling absolutely bamboozled, Jasmine dashed home to tell her dad what she saw. Dad, am I a different type of boy? No, you're a girl, Jasmine. A girl? Does it matter? Not really. Okay, cool. That's all I need to know. After that, Jasmine still dressed up and played boys' games until a shocking event happened when she turned 12. One day at school, Jasmine suddenly felt very tired and her stomach hurt. Can I use the restroom, please? Yes, is everything okay? Yeah, But the moment she stood up, the boy sitting next to her started yelling to the rest of their classmates. Gucci, there's something on your pants! Jasmine looked down and her face started burning bright red. She was frozen as laughter erupted from the rest of the classroom. Unable to take another second of it, she sprinted from the room and didn't look back, despite her teacher shouting her name down the hall. Jasmine couldn't understand what was happening to her and frantically searched the school for her brothers. When she did find them, they were just as puzzled as she was, trying to figure out what to do. They didn't realize they had ended up in front of the nurse's office. Once safe inside the office, Jasmine asked, "Give it to me straight, ma'am. Am I dying?" No. Oh, my dog! I'm totally dying, aren't I? I got a big game coming up. I haven't even tried. You're not dying. It's called period, honey. Then how do I stop it from happening? You can't. It's gonna keep happening because you're becoming a woman. A woman? What the? But problems still follow Jasmine even after she entered high school. And one of those problems was mean girls. We all know you're gay, Gucci. Tell us who you have a crush on. Well, I've liked you for a long time, Tiffany. Want to go on a date? In your dreams. Jasmine was pleased with herself as the group of girls stormed off. One day, Jasmine was walking down the stairs when she slipped, but someone caught her. She looked up at her savior to find Mike, the new student/angel who just joined her high school. This was the first time Jasmine had felt her heart beat so fast. Not counting the time she accidentally peed on her father's Persian rug when she was 4 years old. Hey, shut your front door! At that moment, Jaden quickly took the opportunity, pretended to fall on the two of them, and uttered a line that still makes him admire his own disguise skills to this day. Ouch! Ouch! My ankle! Who the fudge spilled water all over the stairs? Jasmine turned to look at the person who had just spoken. Then a hand reached out. You okay, bro? Jasmine blushed and looked up. She saw Mike offering her his hand and shyly reached for it. But suddenly, it hit her. He called me bro! From then on, Jasmine continuously ran into Mike in class, in the library, and found herself falling for him. But every time Jasmine greeted him, hey, what's up, bro? But Jasmine didn't want him to be her bro. She wanted him to be her beau. She decided it was time to do something. Jasmine secretly put food and lollipops in Mike's locker and was caught by Tiffany. You know that's a boy's locker, don't you? Sorry if you're disappointed it's not yours. Why don't you just quit while you're ahead, Gucci? Mike is into real girls. I bet he doesn't even know you're supposed to be one. As Tiffany laughed, Jasmine turned bright red with anger. Storming away, she was determined to become the kind of girly girl Mike could fall for. Jasmine thought she would have to change from the inside out, so this would be her first destination. However, out of much embarrassment, she resorted to wearing a hoodie to fully cover herself. Jasmine suddenly noticed a saleswoman following her around the store. I'm gonna need security to get over here now. This dude is sus. No, I'm just browsing. I'm trying to find a birthday gift for my, sister. Ah, right on. We have some lacy ones, bright colors like neon green, and hot yellow that dudes really like. Jasmine felt dizzy. Just imagining wearing any of these made her feel embarrassed. Quickly, she thanked the saleswoman for her help and told her she'd come back, then hurried out of the store. How is being a girl so difficult? I wish I had some girlfriends to help with this. I have no clue what I'm doing. As soon as Jasmine got outside, she noticed Jaden checking himself out in front of a glass door. Excellent! My cover as Jaden is perfect. No one's gonna know who I really am. Jeez, this guy again. He seemed so self-obsessed. So much more girly than I could ever be. Jasmine then immediately came up with this brilliant idea, but Jaden had already left. The next day, Jasmine saw Jaden again, who was enthusiastically chatting with the gossip girls. Do these girls know how to get to the point? This gossip is exhausting. I just need them to say something relevant about Mike so I can get on with this investigation. When the mean girls left, Jasmine finally worked up the nerve to approach him with her proposition. Can you help me be more like those other girls? Like what? Chatty? More, feminine? No thanks. Oh, come on. I know you have it inside. I don't have time for this nonsense. I have a job to do. Jaden started walking away, but Jasmine wasn't going to take no for an answer. Please, I want to get Mike to like me, and he only likes girly girls. Jaden realized this could be a good opportunity for him to get to Mike, instead of directly approaching him, which could easily raise suspicion, so he agreed. Together, Jaden and Jasmine found out that he seemed to be into designer stuff. He also adored Kendall Jenner very much. Looks like Mike has expensive tastes. Money's not a problem. Then she dragged Jaden to the mall. They bought all kinds of designer dresses, high heels, and bags, which made Jaden's jaw totally drop. Jeez, I didn't expect you to be rich. My dad is a collector of sorts. He likes antiques and things. You know, like those fancy old Persian carpets, original artwork, porcelain vases and things. He has a good job, so I guess he can afford such an expensive hobby. Then Jaden also taught Jasmine how to walk and behave like a girl. Jasmine struggled a lot. She was just so used to acting like a boy that acting like a girl was more foreign to her than her dad's Nordic glassware. How come you're better at being a girl than I am? Because I spent endless days and nights doing research on this character so I could easily master all this girly stuff. Oh, I guess it's all in my genes. And that made Jasmine fall over laughing. The following day, Jasmine came to school with her brand new look and was immediately thrust into the spotlight. However, the only ones who didn't seem to notice were Mike and Tiffany. This plan seems like a bust. You can't lose the race before you've even reached the starting line. He seems to have even more faith in me than I have in myself. Gotta trust the process, I guess. And indeed, the following days, Jaden tried his best to help Jasmine approach Mike. At lunch, when Mike passed their table, Jaden designedly dropped Jasmine's apple, which he caught just before it hit the ground. Can I sit here? After a few days, Mike fell for it hook, line, and sinker. He tracked Jasmine down at the end of the day to ask her out. So, things didn't work out between you and Tiffany?
Psh, no. I found out all her designer clothes were knockoffs. Can you believe that? I just hate liars. Don't you?
Yeah, totally.
Anyway, is that yes to a date?
Absolutely.
Who fell for it hook, line, and sinker then?
Soon enough, Jasmine and Mike were officially dating, and Jaden didn't miss this chance to follow them 24/7.
Jaden always seemed to appear out of nowhere to interrupt their conversations. So, tell us a little more about yourself, Mike. Where do you live? What does your dad do for work? Well, I lost my mom when I was too young to remember her, and I've basically lived with my nanny ever since. Dad comes around sometimes, but he spends a lot of time on business trips.
That must be rough. I mean, I also lost...
Why so busy? What exactly does he do?
Mike's face seemed darkened, and Jasmine couldn't help but be a bit annoyed with Jaden's constant presence.
She wasn't sure who was dating Mike anymore, but there were benefits to having Jaden around all the time. He seemed to be Jasmine's savior when it came to ordering food, as Mike had a terrifyingly strict diet and skincare routine. Is there anything quality on this menu? I can't eat any of these greasy, fried, fatty foods. No soda either. Only smoothies or sugar-free milk. I also go to the gym 4 times a week and spend the rest at a spa. You should come with me sometime.
Sure. That sounds cool.
In order to keep her girly image, Jasmine tried to delicately take a few bites of the salad and ignored her grumbling stomach. Luckily, Mike had to leave early, so once he was out of sight, Jaden slid his full plate of food over to Jasmine. Here, you could act in your natural habitat now.
Thank you so much.
As Jasmine began eagerly scarfing down his food, Jaden reached for Mike's unfinished drink and took a sip. What the heck is this poison?
I should have you know that was the only thing Mike found acceptable on the menu. A sugar-free kale smoothie.
Ick. No wonder he couldn't even finish it. Then they had a great evening talking and dining on deliciously greasy, fried, fatty foods. As they were walking back home, Jasmine twisted her ankle, still not used to wearing high heels. Without thinking, Jaden quickly piggybacked Jasmine and continued walking. Comfortable quietness fell over them. Becoming self-conscious, Jasmine broke the silence.
Am I, too heavy for you?
Actually, yeah, next time, cut down on the chicken before twisting an ankle.
How dare you?
I'm kidding. You're fine. You're not heavy at all. I mean, maybe a little.
Oh, shut up, you jerk. The two shared their cheerful laughter under the streetlights. Meanwhile, after seeing Jasmine and Mike together, Tiffany threw a tantrum and thought to herself she wouldn't let them off that easily. One day, when Jasmine and Mike were discussing where to go out next time, Jaden immediately seized the chance.
Let's go to Mike's house. Come on. Alrighty then, my house it is. Let's go. When they arrived, Jaden couldn't stop admiring the house and looked everywhere, but only God knew he was just looking for clues. Staying fully in character, Jaden touched a little bit of everything, clinging on to Mike and gushing over everything. This house is beautiful and huge. It must be awesome living basically by yourself with all this. Is your dad around by any chance? We'd love to meet him. Meanwhile, Jasmine was becoming a little uncomfortable with how obsessed with Mike Jaden seemed to be.
Is he gay? I mean, that's fine, but he could just say that.
Later, when the two of them were alone, Jasmine figured it was time to confront Jaden.
Hey, I was wondering, do you, have a crush on my boyfriend?
Jaden was dumbfounded for a second, and before he could think more about it, he slyly smiled and pressed Jasmine against the wall. What makes you think so? I'm into girls. Jasmine couldn't think straight with Jaden's face so close to hers. Want me to prove it to you? Flustered, she hurriedly pulled away, heart fluttering, blushing profusely.
I would like you to stop being a third wheel then. Thank you for helping me approach Mike and all, but now that we're dating, I would appreciate it if you could give us some space. Please.
Jaden was taken aback for a second, then calmly said, You're right. Sorry. I'll back off. Being the third wheel all this time hasn't gotten me any info on Mike's dad anyway. He really was laying low, and maybe Mike didn't even know anything about what his father was doing. The FBI might need to find another way to approach this investigation. Little did Jaden know, Jasmine had become an unexpected factor in his investigation plan. Jaden was taken aback for a second, then calmly said, You're right. Sorry. I'll back off. Being the third wheel all this time hasn't gotten me any info on Mike's dad anyway. He really was laying low, and maybe Mike didn't even know anything about what his father was doing. The FBI might need to find another way to approach this investigation. Little did Jaden know, Jasmine had become an unexpected factor in his investigation plan. After that time, Jasmine and Mike had private dates, just the two of them, but they left Jasmine feeling more and more distant from him. Why does this wig have to be so long? And these freaking shoes! Why do girls want to torture themselves with these things? Jasmine thought about the last time she was with Jaden, how she could just remove the stupid heels and enjoy being carried by him. But of course, that could never happen in front of Mike. Jaden has kept his promise and leaves us two alone. But why do I feel like something is missing?
You look really beautiful today. That necklace is divine.
Yeah, I got it from my dad's antique cabinet this morning. Guess it once belonged to some ancient Egyptian queen. My dad has a bunch of these.
Oh, really? How come?
Well, he developed a very deep passion for collecting antiques and has filled our whole house with all kinds of stuff.
Interesting.
Just then, Mike knew exactly what to do with rich and naive Jasmine while she's still totally oblivious to it. That night, Jasmine struggled to fall asleep. She wondered how Jaden could just disappear into thin air like that. Fine, don't let me see you again. I'll make you watch me eat 10 buckets of fried chicken and then force you to run 10 laps while carrying me.
Jasmine didn't realize, however, that behind her inexplicable frustration toward Jaden,
she actually missed him. The next day, as soon as Jasmine arrived at school, Mike approached her urgently.
Have I mentioned that I'm turning 16 this weekend?
No, you haven't. Any special plans for your big day then?
Yes, actually. That's why I came to find you. I wanted to make sure you had enough time to put together the most stunning outfit, 'cause I'd like you to meet my father there. You must make a good impression on him.
Wow. I'm gonna need to think about it, okay? After that, Jasmine looked everywhere for Jaden but couldn't find any trace of him. Jaden, where on earth have you been?
That evening, while Jaden was discussing the current situation with his partner, he was surprised to see Jasmine's figure at the door. How did she find her way here?
How dare you go AWOL for the past few days? Do you realize how many excuses I needed to give the student supervisor just to get your address?
Then Jasmine began to tell Jaden about her latest date with Mike, how she felt that Mike was not the right match for her, and that Mike wanted to introduce her to his father at Mike's birthday party.
I think I need to break things off before any family gets involved.
However, after the FBI team hit a dead end because they couldn't get any intel, Jaden realized this party was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for them to catch the thief. Wait, you can't give up so soon. You were so determined to win Mike over before. Don't just dump him over cold feet. At least wait until after the party to make your decision.
Yeah, you're right. I'll go to the party.
After that, Jasmine left. She was trying not to feel the sadness building inside her,
but the night that she and Jaden nearly kissed played on repeat in her head. Would things be different if I just confessed my feelings to Jaden? I should let him know how I feel about him.
So Jasmine headed back to Jaden's place. When she was almost there, she saw him seeing someone off.
Huh? There was another person at his house? Why didn't I see him just then?
Jasmine quickly hid behind a wall, out of sight. That party is surely our golden ticket. And we thought you going undercover as Jaden and giving that dude a makeover was all in vain. He's a she. And her name is Jasmine. Oh, did someone catch feelings? Don't forget that you're an FBI agent, James. Jaden, that is.
Jasmine couldn't believe what she just heard and saw.
When the man left, she stormed right over to Jaden.
When were you going to tell me about your double life, James?
I wish I could tell you everything, but I really can't. But I won't deny what you did here. I'm an FBI agent, and I've been undercover as a high school student to follow Mike. Jasmine, please listen to me. I'll tell you everything when the right time comes.
So I was just a tool that you used to get closer to Mike. And since that didn't work, you're done with me?
No, that's not.
And why Mike? What do you need from him?
I can't tell you anything else right now. But please just be careful around him, okay? He's not as nice as he tries to seem. I'm going to send FBI agents to keep an eye on you at the party.
No, you will not. You won't do anything because you and the FBI are going to leave me alone.
Jasmine, please. As much as it hurt to look at him again, Jasmine turned back around.
My friends call me Gucci, but I guess you wouldn't know.
While Jasmine was still mad at Jaden, she couldn't help questioning why the FBI had to send people to follow Mike. Suddenly, she remembered the overheard conversation. That party was surely our golden ticket, and we thought you going undercover as Jaden and giving that dude a makeover was all in vain.
Maybe I could find the answer at Mike's birthday party. In the following days, Jaden relentlessly tried in every way to make amends with Jasmine. He messaged her on every social platform, from Facebook to Instagram to Twitter, and she blocked him on each one. He flew paper planes that read, "I'm sorry," into Jasmine's room, but she just stared coldly at him through the window while tearing the planes all up and throwing them in the trash. One morning, Jasmine woke up and even found a dove delivering Jaden's apology letter, but she completely ignored it still. Mike's birthday party finally came. Why do I feel so unsettled? Maybe it was because of Gary's hamburger this afternoon? Meanwhile, Mike was also lost in his own thoughts.
Will Dad be able to get on with the plan? I wonder what disguise he'll show up in.
Right then, Tiffany approached them. "Mike, I have a present for you." Mike opened the envelope to find pictures of Jasmine from when she was a tomboy. "I just wanted to remind you of the person you're really dating."
I don't care about who she was before, because I love who she is now. My amazing girlfriend.
Jasmine felt partly appreciative of Mike's feelings for her, but she was also exhausted from the pressure of trying to be someone she wasn't. "If only you knew that this isn't the real me." As they walked away, Mike leaned in close and whispered in Jasmine's ear,
"Let's go meet my dad. Privately."
Jasmine followed Mike to the rooftop, but she saw nobody when they got there. "Where is he?"
Just be patient. He always shows up on time.
At that moment, a kind-looking old man appeared. Jasmine looked around in confusion, wondering where he had come from. Before she could introduce herself, he started to speak.
"So you must be the lovely Jasmine. Mike has told me so much about you. I heard your father is a famous collector of antiquities."
Yes. You know my dad?"
"I know he has something that's truly coveted."
Jasmine had no idea what he was talking about. She turned to Mike and saw him mouthing,
"It's you. Come here, girl. I have a gift for you. A diamond ring that's perfect for your delicate hands."
Jasmine hesitated, but somehow she found herself slowly reaching out her hand. Just before her hand could reach his, there was a rustling sound. "Rat!" Suddenly, there was a loud explosion and smoke filled the air. Jasmine fell to the ground, unconscious. Jaden rushed in and saw Mike's father disappear into the smoke as they fled. His head told him to chase them, but seeing Jasmine lying on the ground, he immediately ran to Jasmine and carried her out of there. Jasmine woke up and saw her dad and 3 brothers anxiously standing around. Through their accounts, she knew that an anonymous message had been sent to her father last night, demanding he hand over a precious necklace in exchange for Jasmine.
The police confirmed that the sender of that threatening message is a career thief.
But I wonder how he knew our family had that necklace. Jasmine recalled wearing that necklace to see Mike and revealing to him that her dad was an antique collector. Could that very thief be?
Remember, he's been doing this for a long time. They call him the Phantom Thief. Surely he has a talent for sniffing out valuable items and evading the police. Unfortunately, it's the same this time. Actually, that young police officer could have caught him, but he chose to save your sister. Our family owes him big time.
Is that young police officer Jaden? Later, Jaden came to visit Jasmine at the hospital. "Can you tell me the truth now? Is the FBI chasing a career criminal who is none other than Mike's dad?"
You're right, because he works in mysterious ways. I had to approach him through his son, Mike.
"So why didn't you arrest him when you had the chance? Weren't you just waiting for that moment?"
Because you were in danger. At that moment, I could only think about getting to you.
All right, I'll give you that one. Can you tell me what you found out? Maybe I can help. Then Jaden told Jasmine that through spying on Mike, he discovered that Mike was his father's informant. Mike would scour rich girls, then point out the targets to his father who'd steal their valuables. That's why Mike had targeted Tiffany before, but as soon as he learned she was a fake rich girl and Jasmine was the real deal, he switched his focus to Jasmine.
I am so sorry I kept the truth from you for so long. I really care about you, and I was trying to keep you from getting hurt, and you did anyway. I'm sorry. I hope you can forgive me.
You did save my life after all. I think we can call it square. So, what's our next move then?
I really don't know.
I might have an idea.
Elsewhere, Mike and his dad were scheming. I didn't expect that sissy Jaden to be in the FBI. Don't worry, I know how to deal with him.
The next day, reports of an antique auction flooded the news.
A once-in-a-lifetime exhibition, all from one man's private collection, will be auctioned to the highest bidder. The collection includes antiquities from all over the world, including a necklace said to belong to Cleopatra. Its estimated value is over $100 billion.
The streets were also plastered with billboards and banners about that auction. In the evening of the auction, all VIPs of the upper class gathered in the hotel's main lobby to prepare for the big event. In addition, hundreds of security guards and police officers were hired to guard the auction jewelry 24/7. Before the start of the auction, Jasmine's dad gave a welcome speech to all the guests. Ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to welcome you all to today's event. As you know, I collect antiques as a hobby, so to share some of the joy this collection has brought me, the profits from today's auction will be donated to the orphanage. Sir, is it true that Cleopatra's necklace will also be auctioned today? That's right. However, it's not here. It's currently being kept in a very secure place that even a mosquito couldn't get through, and will be presented during the final round. Aren't you afraid that the Phantom Thief, Master of Disguise, will steal it? Well, he can certainly try me. The whole crowd burst into laughter. Without knowing, from a corner, an elegant lady was watching them all with a smirk on her face. At 9 o'clock sharp, while the sounds of the auction echoed through the hotel's halls, someone in a black shirt and wearing a backpack appeared at the door, trying to put a key in the lock. Freeze! Hands over your head! Busted, you thief! I'm not... In the lobby, chaos reigned after it became known that the Phantom Thief had approached the treasure. Jasmine was extremely nervous too. Before long, a police officer went onto the stage. Please don't worry, the thief was apprehended by the police while trying to open the door. The auction will continue as scheduled. Everyone felt relieved, and the room erupted into applause. At that moment, the elegant yet mysterious lady walked toward the elevator quietly, heading to the penthouse. She then swiftly snuck into the room and retrieved the necklace with ease. Those stupid cops must be bringing that fool down to the station right now. She then put the box into her bag and left the room. Suddenly, an old janitor bumped into her. I'm terribly sorry, miss. The elegant lady grumbled, then used the emergency exit to rush up to the rooftop. On the roof, a helicopter was already waiting, with Mike inside. Mike's dad quickly gave him the necklace. Just when the helicopter took off, policemen came rushing to catch him. We finally got you weasel! Ha ha! I've still got the necklace. I win again, you fools. Oh, you mean this necklace? What? How could you? It turned out that Jaden had swapped the box when they bumped into each other in the hall. Upon this admission, in the helicopter, Mike eagerly opened the box, which turned out to be just a jumping jack toy. No! After the police took Mike's dad away, Jasmine and her dad rushed to Jaden. Thank you so much for saving my daughter and still catching the thief.
Thank you for all your help. We couldn't have caught him if you didn't fabricate this event.
This whole thing was Jasmine's idea, and the event itself was fake. All the antiques auctioned tonight were real, and those proceeds will still go to charity. We did it! You're right. We did it. Whatever happened with the other thief who got caught earlier? Oh, he was hired to distract the FBI, but we knew from the start he wasn't our thief. Luckily, the arrest announcement was just the thing we needed to get Mike's dad to make his move and to make him think he was going to get away with it. Now I just need to know how you switched those boxes so smoothly. Are you a magician too? Nope, I'm just me. The next day, Jaden finally had some time alone with Jasmine, and it was finally time to tell her the rest of everything. It might not be my place to say, but I understand how you've been feeling. Trying to be someone? Heck, it's my job. But it's not your job to change to make other people like you. The right people are the ones who love you for who you really are. People like, me. Jasmine was touched. She had so many things she wanted to say, but she was simply speechless. She turned to Jaden, and upon seeing just his side profile, she blushed. Are you okay? Jasmine was going to respond, but she hiccuped again.
I think I know what to do.
It's only 6 a.m., but Dad already woke me up.
Hurry up, LaDonna. A huge storm's coming. Poor households await the city's plan for food and shelter.
Oh, then what's the mayor's plan for my food? But Dad didn't listen and just drove away without letting me have breakfast. Well, I'm used to this anyway. A little backstory. We came from a long line of politicians. My grandpa, my uncles, all worked for the government. My dad actually broke with tradition and became a successful businessman. But I guess the apple really can't fall far from the tree. Last year, he took a sudden U-turn and moved back to his hometown to pursue a political career. And he was elected mayor. Since then, he had no time left for me. Not to mention the judgy eyes I had to face at school. You look fine. It's not you. It's your dad's new policy they're whispering about.
Don't mind them, LaDonna. What do us kids know about politics anyway?
There they are, Kira and Troy, my only friends here. In fact, Troy's even in a similar situation. His mom is the chief of police, but he deals with it pretty well. Have you been to the White House?
Does the key to the city really open anything? Can you tell your dad to ban homework?
Seriously, how could Troy stay calm before these stupid questions? And even the teachers wouldn't leave me alone. They always put me in charge of things. Please, just because my dad has great leadership doesn't mean I do too, as if I wasn't already swamped with chores. Once the last bell rang, I rushed to the grocery store. Since Dad's always busy now, poor old me had to take up housework, and it's frozen meals all day, every day. But today he'd come home early for dinner, so I'm gonna throw a feast. Except, none of these tasted edible. What's the problem? I followed the recipes very carefully.
Did I come home at the wrong time?
No, Dad, a perfect timing. My apple pie's ready.
You mean that smoking thing in the oven?
Oh no! My only ray of hope has also turned to ashes! I immediately ran to the convenience store, grabbed all of the instant foods, and dashed home. But Dad's already fallen asleep. He must be exhausted. It's always been him who raised me, as Mom passed away giving birth to me. Now on top of that, he had to take care of this whole town. He needed a partner to share his burden, and I needed to be taken care of as well. Let's see, getting to know someone new with Dad's hectic schedule would be impossible. So maybe reconnect him with one of his exes? From my aunt, I learned he had 2 ex-girlfriends. One is Jade, his old classmate who's still single. 2 is Alva. No other information. Let's start with Jade then. Next day, I immediately told Troy and Kira about my master plan. That's my Aunt Jade. No way! It's fated! Suddenly, a group rushed towards us, babbling about my uncle being appointed temporary Secretary of State. Jeez, chill guys! They kept flocking around, making me feel suffocated. Panicked, I ran away, and as I turned the corner, a hand pulled me back.
Calm down. You're safe from that crazy crowd now.
Thanks, but why did you help me?
I've been in your position. I know what you're going through.
Just like that, I found myself comfortably venting everything to her.
It must be hard for your family of 2.
That's why I'm finding him a wife.
Oh, good luck to you then, sweetie. I have to go now.
What a lovely lady. If only everyone could be like her. With Kira's help, setting up a date for Dad and Jade was a piece of cake. We both dragged them to the same restaurant, then cued some cliché matchmaking moments. Me and Kira quickly excused ourselves and monitored things from afar. They seemed to have a good time, but as we leaned closer... Huh? Inflation? Food security? Obesity epidemic? They'd been chatting about politics this whole time? Dad! That's exactly why you're single! On the way home, I constantly mentioned Jade, but Dad was nonchalant and switched the subject to his meeting instead. Ugh. Another one in 30 minutes. I'll have to stay home alone tonight. As he dropped me off, he added,
Find yourself a boyfriend first before trying to set me up.
How annoying! I then called Kira to inform her that our matchmaking plan had failed, but it took her a while to accept it.
You give up too soon. Is it 'cause you don't like my aunt?
No, Kira, it's 'cause I know my dad. And if he said no, it's a no. Okay, now plan B. Alva. I did some digging and figured out the neighborhood where she lived. I'll go there tomorrow. So here I am now, completely lost. Except, isn't that the woman who helped me at school? I rushed over and thanked her for the other day, but she seemed a little off. After a lot of persuading, she finally told me the cause of her sorrow. A tragic love story.
His family are all politicians, so they can't accept someone mediocre like me.
I'm so sorry, but I'm sure you can find someone better. She shook her head, saying he'd recently moved back to town and was still single. That got her reminiscing about the good old days, but sadly, he's seeing someone else. Wait a sec, is that a photo of you two? May I see? She showed it to me. My thought exactly. That's my dad! So, you're Alva?
Yes, but how do you know?
Because you're my dad's ex, just who I'm looking for. I shrieked in happiness, but strangely, she cried even harder, then hugged me.
If that's your dad, then LaDonna, I'm not just his ex. I'm your mom.
Hold up, what now? So, they were deeply in love despite my dad's family's disapproval. But when I was born, they got even angrier and kicked her out. Yet, this entire time, I thought my poor mom was no longer on this earth. Our reunion was cut short by Dad's call. I wanted to ask him everything ASAP, but Mom signaled me not to.
Honey, don't tell Robert yet. Of course I look forward to our family's reunion, but I'm not ready to meet him. And perhaps neither is he. It'll be awkward for him and the woman he's seeing.
No worries, Mom. There's nothing between them. The only woman for him is you. Having Mom beside me made my life so much better. She's a successful businesswoman, but still puts work aside to spend time with me. We went on picnics, shopping, watched movies together. And her cooking is the best. I devoured the grilled ribs in an instant. It's 1,000 times better than frozen food. When I'm around her, I can be myself without worrying about the public's eye. I wish I could skip class every day to stay home with Mom like this, but it's not that easy. At school, I excitedly told Kira and Troy all about my fun outings with Mom, but they looked rather uninterested. Whatever. Mom will pick me up later and we'll have a blast. Suddenly, buzzing talks from other tables cut off my thoughts.
My cat eats faster than her.
Indeed, our graceful princess. Guys, don't be fooled. She's in fact a delinquent who skips class all the time.
Having a mare daddy is so lucky.
If we did that, we'd be kicked out right away. Those mean girls always have something bad to say. I headed toward them to settle this once and for all, but my father's words echoed in my mind.
LaDonna, everyone judges me by your behavior.
Ugh, fine. They're right, LaDonna. You've been absent quite a lot lately. I just want to be around my mother. A good mom would never tell her daughter to skip class. Think about it. There must be a reason for your whole family to be against her. What do you know? They were the bad guys who unreasonably looked down on her. Then why did your dad keep in touch with my aunt, but cut ties with her? So, Kira was still annoyed that my dad and her aunt didn't become a thing? How petty. I walked off, but Troy ran after me.
Kira's just worried about you. Also, you're living in the same town as your mom now. You'll have lots of time with her, so don't play truant again, okay? Here, I've marked the important parts we learned during your absence.
Troy has always been gentle to me. He's right. I have tons of time for Mom, but we can't keep sneaking around like this. My parents should reunite soon. I remembered the story of how my mom first met Dad and got an idea.
What's so important that you have to come here in this weather?
I promised to help out a friend. Please pull over here and wait for me. The friend I was helping was none other than Mom. I then waited a bit before telling Dad to bring me an umbrella because it's raining too hard. Now it's your turn. Go get him, Mom. And just like that, the romantic scene from many years ago was reenacted right before my eyes. My mom was soaking wet, dashed through the rain, then bumped into my father. My dad then bent down to help her up, looked right into her eyes, and dropped her on the ground? I was still in shock when Dad charged towards me and dragged me back to the car.
How did you know that woman?
I asked around.
Just stop. Never see her again, got it?
His extreme reaction was proof that Mom really mattered. They'll definitely get back together soon because they had me, their special bond. That night, I called Mom. She must have been really upset.
It's all right, honey. I'm used to it. Your dad's family was... Never mind. Your birthday's coming. LaDonna, what do you want for a present?
I just want you to be with me.
Yes, sweetie. If only we could celebrate as a family.
That's it! I insisted Dad throw me a huge birthday party. I invited all my friends and acquaintances. When the party began, I stepped on stage and thanked everyone for coming. Lastly, the biggest thanks goes to the people who brought me into this world. Dad, Mom, please join me. I believe you all know my father already, but my mother, Alva Garrix. The crowd began talking and pointing. Now Dad has to acknowledge her.
Please, it's a misunderstanding. Miss Garrix here is only an old friend, and it seems she got along very well with my daughter, which is just adorable. Let's toast to our little princess's birthday.
Unbelievable! He's fully committed to disregarding her. As the guests were busy chatting, Dad pulled me into a room. Ugh, he doesn't have the right to be mad here. Old friend? You're straight up lying. Alva is my mother.
No, she's a gold digger. Look, there's no time right now.
When do you ever have time for me? Dad just sighed, apologized, then sat me down to tell me that back when he first started his business, it failed, but he didn't want to ask his family for help. Mom berated him, saying he was a dumb loser who wouldn't take advantage of his family's power. Unable to change his mind, Mom left after I was born.
No, that's not it. I'm sorry, Robert. I shouldn't have shown up here. It's all my fault.
She suddenly passed out. Panicked, Dad and I put her in bed. That night, I checked on Mom constantly, then fell asleep next to her. I was awoken by my phone's notifications, so I quickly went out to check to not wake Mom. Oh my, hundreds of articles about my dad came up. His old photos with Jade and with my mother were all over the news. The press was saying that he's a wolf in sheep's clothing. Dad's bombarded with calls from dozens of news outlets.
It's her. Only Alva has these photos.
Dad, look! How could such a frail person do anything? Suddenly, I saw a figure at the door to Mom's room. Dad and I tiptoed over, then grabbed them. Aha! Gotcha! Huh? Kira? Kira claimed that my mom's very suspicious, so she had to keep an eye on her. I swear she's faking it. I heard her on the phone just now. Enough, Kira! You're out of line this time. I don't want such a petty friend. Leave! Kira didn't say another word and just left. So did my dad.
The protest at 4th Street is still going strong? All right, I'm coming.
It's always work, work, work. Do these strangers matter more to him than his wife and kid? The next day, Troy asked me to meet up at the park for some update. So I unloaded everything onto him. I can't believe my dad rejected Mom just to save face like that. He's not making as much money as when he had his business. Why is he so dead set on this job?
I used to think like that about my mom too, but then I realized that she wasn't doing her job for money or fame, but simply contributing to society. I now entirely support her because it's her life's purpose. It might be the same for your dad.
What Troy said lingered in my mind. It does make sense. If Dad's all about glory, there's many other ways which don't require him bending over backwards day in and day out like this. Troy's always been understanding to his mom. And me? I've never been supportive of Dad when he had to juggle between his job and me. When I got home, Mom was nowhere to be seen, except a letter on the table. Mom said she's terminally ill and didn't have much longer. That's why she risked everything to be with me. But now her health's worsened. She didn't want me to witness her pitiful condition, so she left. I immediately called her.
It's dangerous in this abandoned construction site. Please don't come. I just need you to know I love you, LaDonna.
I immediately knew where she was when she said that. I rushed over, but at the entrance, a scary-looking crew approached me.
Don't worry, sweetie. They're our friends. Just listen to them.
They wasted no time tying me up, then called Dad. As soon as he arrived, Mom dropped her act. Turned out, she planned to approach me right after knowing he was elected mayor. Her wish to rekindle with us was just to use Dad. But it didn't work on him, so she's pushing things this far.
Sign here and our daughter will be safe. Many people will go bankrupt if that's signed. Don't ever think you could fool me. You couldn't care less about your daughter? Or are you still counting on those useless cops?
Ma'am, you underestimate our law enforcers. It's Troy and Kira, followed by undercover policemen coming from all directions. Turns out, Kira actually heard the calls Alva made to her accomplices. She then told Troy and asked his mom to look into Alva. Coincidentally, the police had always been after Alva because she's been involved in a scheme that gave tenants a ridiculously huge debt. She colluded with the former mayor and wanted to continue the scam with my dad now. Before she's taken away, Alva still cried and begged for my help. I was nothing more than a puppet to you, and now you're talking about maternal love? A scammer like you deserves to be brought to justice. After Alva's arrest, I broke down crying. She's my mother. That's the only truth among all those lies. Dad hugged me and said sorry for everything. It's all my fault. I just foolishly fell into her trap because I wanted someone to take care of us.
I'm sorry, LaDonna. You went through so much because of me and my job.
It's okay, Dad. Now I see how meaningful your work is. I'm proud to be your daughter. And you too. Thank you. I decided to sign up for a cooking class to better support Dad, and this banquet is the fruits of my hard work. But before he could even sit down, an emergency call came. He gave me a sorry look, but I gladly said, "Bye, Dad. I'll save you some." I was a little bummed out, but it's his job after all, and if he can't be changed, why not learn to enjoy it? Moments later, these hungry hippos already came.
But hey, this just came to my mind. How about Troy's mom? She's also single and would look great with your dad, right?
Nah, I've realized he already has a love of his life, serving the community. He's very happy with his choice, so I'll leave him be, for now.
That's right. Besides, we can't be family. At least, not yet.
Hey, it's me again, Amy. Last time we spoke, I had made a huge discovery. But before we get to that, let me just remind you how we got here. My father's death left me completely devastated. So Mom suddenly convinced me to travel to take my mind off of it. But instead of having a good time, I accidentally got stranded on this exotic island that's owned by a native tribe who do not like foreigners. Luckily, I met Silas, who helped me survive here, and we actually have gotten pretty close. We're having so much fun that for a second I forgot that I had to go back, until I heard the rumor that my accident could have been staged. Would my own mother really have caused me to end up here? I needed to go home immediately to find out, and Silas was willing to help with all his might, but it's been a few days, and I haven't heard anything back from him. I waited eagerly, then impatiently for him to come. Finally, one afternoon, I heard a noise outside. I quickly went down to check. To my surprise, it wasn't Silas. It was Nora, and as usual, she looked annoyed to see me. I tried to tell her Silas wasn't here, but she pushed past me anyway and grabbed a stick to draw something. What are you doing? Abstract art? There. Island. I see. People. Then I got it. There's an island? With people? Can we get there? Yes. Can go. We can take a boat there? She nodded again and signaled me to follow her. Oh my god! I jumped with excitement. Maybe I was wrong about her. Nora led me to the shore, where she uncovered a small boat hidden behind a bush. Go away, now. Go. Go! Nora pulled me towards the boat, sat me down, and started pushing the boat towards the water. Isn't it a little late to sail now? Wind! Wind faster! As we reached the edge of the tide, I realized, wait, I need to tell Silas I'm leaving. Nora immediately became frustrated. Silas, with Dad! Danger! I didn't quite believe her, but I also didn't know if I'd get another chance like this. I couldn't imagine leaving Silas behind without a goodbye. I felt a pit in my stomach, but we will meet again someday. Definitely. Our family has all the money to rescue him later. Just hang on a bit more, hun. I'll go get help. Nora kept pushing me, and she's right. The patrol could detect me at any moment, so I started paddling away. See you again, Silas. But I only managed to go for a few feet, and then it's like my boat got stuck on something. I turned around to see. Silas?
What do you think you're doing?
Hey! Nora said that there's an inhabited island nearby, and I didn't want to miss the chance.
Get off the boat. It's too dark and too dangerous to go out there by yourself. I'll go and check it out first and come back by morning to let you know if it's safe. Stay here.
I was confident in his sailing ability, but it seemed Nora wasn't. She ran to cling to his arm, begging him not to go. Still, he ignored her and got on the boat. Nora glared at me before storming off, but I stayed on the shore for a moment, watching Silas disappear into the dark sea. Soon enough, the winds grew stronger and the rain started coming down hard. The storm lasted through the night. I stayed up, waiting in the cave where I spent my first night on the island. The rain stopped by dawn. I couldn't sit still and kept marching back and forth along the shore, looking for any signs of Silas. Nora returned soon after, yelling at me in her native tongue. I didn't understand anything she was saying, but I knew she was just as worried for Silas as I was. He'll be back soon, safe and sound. I trust him. And moments later, there he really was, coming back to shore. I couldn't help but run up and hug him as soon as he stepped out of the boat. I asked if he was okay and how he dealt with the rain, and Silas answered all of my questions with a tight hug. But soon we were interrupted by Nora. She shouted angrily and then stormed off. Silas chased after her and said some things that seemed to calm her down.
That island is actually your family's gem mine. I've let them know that their boss lady is alive and well and ready to go home.
Oh my god, really?
They have their ship ready just a bit further offshore since it's dangerous to get close to the island, you know. Just sail out a little bit and they'll pick you right up.
Yay! I'm finally leaving! We're finally... Silas stopped walking and looked at me sadly. Come on, let's go!
I can't go with you. Nora will only let you go peacefully if I stay here. If I try to leave with you, she'll tell her father.
My heart sank.
We'll see each other again, I promise.
How?
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Silas squeezed my hand and then let me go. I tried not to look back at him as I got onto the boat and set sail. I traveled for what could have been a few minutes, or a few hours. I couldn't tell anymore, until I was finally spotted by a larger vessel. They set out a lifeboat for me, and once on board, I was well taken care of by everyone, offered food and warm clothes. But first thing first, I had to contact my family. I called home and the person on the other end was my grandmother. She's as surprised to hear my voice as me hearing hers. Turns out, after all the shenanigans that happened after my father's death, my grandma had moved into our house to take care of things and wait for my return. We cried for a good 10 minutes, and then I told her not to worry. I was safe, and that I'd be home soon. When I got home, Grandma, Nanny Emma, and my sister Brionna rushed to greet me. As my sister hugged me tightly, I realized how much I had truly missed them, and also realized that my mom was really nowhere to be seen. No one made any mention of her in any way. I worked up the nerve to ask my grandma about her.
Right when the police said there were signs of foul play in your disappearance, I already got suspicious. Then when Emma said it was your mother who suggested you go there and play those silly games, I immediately kicked her out. People are truly full of surprises.
Do you really think Mom was masterminding all this?
She was really trying to get both of you. Brionna was lucky she forgot her passport. Don't be glum, dear. You still have me, and Brionna and Emma, too. We all love you and care about you very much. Now, go have some rest. It must have been a long journey for you.
The next day, as soon as I got up, I went looking for my sister to confirm the things Grandma had said. When I found her, I couldn't stop the tears from spilling out. How could Mom have been the one to do this? Why would she do something like this to her own children? Amy, never listen to a story from one side only. Huh? Do you know something I don't know? Just don't jump into conclusions yet. She then excused herself to work and hurriedly left before I could ask anything else. I kept thinking about what Brianna said, but couldn't come up with any other speculation. As I passed my parents' room, I noticed a box sitting outside the door. It's full of my mother's belongings. Nanny Emma is probably packing my mom's stuff out of here. Something in the box caught my eye. I opened it up and found that it was a photo album of me since I was a kid. And next to each picture is some love notes. This is definitely my mom's handwriting. My eyes landed on a photo of myself playing the piano, and my mother wrote, "Sweet Pea playing my favorite song." She meant so well, but I was always the ungrateful, rebellious one. Was that why she stopped loving me? Did I do anything that terrible for her to want me gone? I suddenly missed her. I found myself taking the photo up to the piano room, someplace I've never gone voluntarily. But as I reached for the doorknob, I heard voices coming from the inside. I peeked through the ajar door. Stop it! It's lucky enough that you didn't get caught. Just get out of here before it's too late. And throw all of my effort in vain? No way! My plan was going so well. How on earth could she survive? So, plan B. You need to secure that spot in the board of directors before Amy gets in the way, and I'll take care of the rest. But, oh God, them? They were behind all this? That night, I waited until I had everyone together to make an exciting announcement. Tomorrow, I'm officially going to start working for the company. I've been working on a proposal to pitch to the board of directors to gain their approval.
That's wonderful, dear.
Don't you think you need some sort of rest, sweetheart? You went through a big ordeal, and I'm ready. I'm totally fine. Well, Brianna will also be returning to the company, and I'm glad I'll be able to help her out. The more hands, the better. I'm so glad you want to join the company. Later that evening, Nanny came into my room with a warm glass of milk. Oh, Emma, you always take such good care of me. Well, tomorrow's going to be a big day, and you need to get a good night's rest. Thank you. Finish your milk before it gets cold, sweetie. Good night. I hugged the warm milk glass and smiled at her as she walked out. Okay, one last revision and then I'll go prepare my outfit for tomorrow. But my eyes, so tired. Suddenly, I was woken up by a sound at the door. Then it slowly opened, followed by footsteps. Someone is walking towards me. She's looking for my documents. Aha! Time to wrap up your play, Emma. Oh, sweetie, go to sleep properly in bed. I'll help you tidy up. Cut the act, you witch. What do you think you're going to find here? My presentation for tomorrow? Joke's on you. It's a trap. But the milk, you've drank it all. You mean the glass of milk-flavored Hypnotic? I've poured it down the drain. Sorry. Suddenly felt lactose intolerant. Bold of you to think you can fool me in my own house. I've seen everything. But why do you want to take me down that bad? Emma, aren't we?
Because my daughter, Brianna, deserves this company more than you.
Before I could even process that information, Emma was rushing towards me holding a chloroform-soaked rag. Just as she backed me into a corner, the door flew open. My grandma and Brianna rushed in, followed by the police, who restrained Emma right away. Brianna ran over yelling, I told you I didn't want any part in your schemes. I would never, ever hurt my sister.
Brianna? Did you know she was your real mother already?
Not until after Mom was gone. Then Emma told me everything. Sensing my confusion, Brianna explained that Emma had a fling with our father many years ago, but he wouldn't marry her because of her lesser status. She was already pregnant with Brianna at the time, so our father allowed her to stay as a nanny. When my mom married our dad, she only knew that Brianna was her husband's stepchild. I'm sorry I didn't come clean sooner. I didn't know what to do, because I didn't realize how far she was willing to go. But when I saw her messing with your drink, I knew that I needed to at least warn you. Thank you for always being on my side and telling the truth now. It must have been even harder for you to process all these. But don't worry, we can still make this right. Emma was trying to explain away her crimes as the police escorted her away in handcuffs. They assured us justice would be served. We got in touch with Mom, and by morning she was back home. After some more crying and apologizing and explaining and hugging, everything was as close to normal as it could be. I admitted that I didn't want the responsibility of running the company, but there was something I did want. I wanted to return to the Gem Island and oversee the exploration of the new mines. What I didn't say was the reason I really wanted to return. He was all I could think about as I embarked on my journey back to the island. We took a big boat as far as we could, before I needed to board a paddle boat to remain undetected once we reached native territory. Before I knew it, the island appeared on the horizon. My heart fluttered as I paddled faster and faster, waiting for the moment I could finally see Silas again. I was so focused on the land ahead that I didn't see the huge wave coming up from behind and overturned my boat. When I opened my eyes, I once again thought I was dead. This time, it was because the first thing I saw was an angel's face. Silas.
Amy,
Hi.
I told you we'd see each other again.
But my moment in heaven was interrupted by the tribe's return. We were surrounded by the natives hollering and pounding their spears into the ground. A man angrier and more distinctively dressed than the rest stepped forward. This must be the chief. He shouted something to the others, and they grew quiet. He shouted some more, and all of their spears were pointed at me and Silas. I looked up at Silas. His face didn't change. He hugged me even tighter. Just when I thought the end was near, I heard a familiar voice. Nora was standing in between us and her father, shouting desperately. The chief's expression softened, and after some discussion between them, the chief gave another order, which made Silas very surprised. So, yes, thanks to Nora and all the good deeds that Silas has done for the tribe, they spared our lives, but they ordered us both to leave their territory right away. So Silas and I moved to the main island, where my family's gem mine is located. Here we still have the beauty and simplicity of the wild lifestyle, while being connected to the rest of the world and helping manage our family business. So it's okay that we're not allowed to stay on the tribe's island. Not to mention, we still have a friend who often comes to visit. Nora had nagged her father to allow her to come over to our island every few days. It was at first because of Silas, but I think that she has set her sights on someone new now.
Finally, back in my natural habitat. Now these city kids could see what I'm capable of. Behold, my big, beautiful flame. They were in awe of my skill. When suddenly, the fun was put to an end by some overreacting teachers. They started yelling at me, saying there's a rule against fire. Ugh, how could you call this a campsite if campfire is not even allowed? Fire making is an essential survival skill, y'all. These boring city people don't know a thing. Who needs all their rules anyway? I know I don't. Hi, I'm Nova, the fire hazard. And I didn't always live in the city. I spent the first 14 years of my life on the road. Our family used to travel the country in our RV. We never stayed any place more than a couple of months. We foraged for food and slept under the stars. But my world was flipped upside down when my parents decided to divorce. My mom wanted to settle down, and my dad would continue life on the road. I begged to go with Dad, but Mom had custody of me.
I'd love to stay with you, my little birdie, but I have to go. No cage can hold me for too long.
At that moment, I promised myself I would break free and spread my wings too. My mom and I then settled into a small 2-bedroom apartment in Savannah, Georgia, where we were greeted by our neighbors, Brenda Foster, a middle school teacher, and her son, Scott, who I'd soon be attending school with. Mrs. Foster was really friendly, but from the moment I met Scott, I knew we wouldn't get along. City people were always grumpy and glued to their cell phones. Mom had to work 2 jobs just to make ends meet, accountant by day, Burger King employee by night. Her colorful wardrobe was replaced with dull uniforms, and all we ate now was fast food. I still kept a sheer hope that one day, when Mom makes enough money, we will hit the road again soon, but no, this is going to be our forever home. Things might be hard for you at first, but trust me, it'll be good for you in the long run. That sounds like she wants my life to be this boring and stuffy for all eternity. Then came school. There were tons of rules, and every moment of our day was scheduled. In just one morning, I got in trouble for going to the bathroom and for eating my lunch. And on top of that, every teacher complained about my penmanship and spelling. But things were worse when I was among other kids. I could hear their whispers everywhere I went. One girl even came up to me and asked why I wore weird hippie clothes. My clothes aren't weird, you are! Even when some of them invited me to sit with them at lunch, I felt like an outsider. Anyone down for some pink drinks after school? Not me. I'm saving up for the Eras tour. Count me in! I'm entering my pink girl era. None of these words they say makes any sense to me. Finally, they asked about my old life. Well, we didn't have to eat this junk. We can get fresh vegetables by the road. And I know how to skin roadkills. And every day we tried many different fruits and fungi. But be careful, a simple mushroom could kill you. But by that point, I noticed they were either speechless or as pale as a ghost. Did I say something wrong?
Every school day was a blur of confusing subjects, but today was my first music lesson, and I was so excited to finally do something I was good at. When the music teacher, Mr. Shapiro, asked if anyone wanted to perform for the class, I sprung up from my seat, ready to go. I confidently sang my favorite song, but halfway through, Mr. Shapiro interrupted me.
We're learning classical music. That style is called reggae, which we don't teach here.
Nova's a hippy-dippy weirdo. The whole class erupted into laughter. What did I do? Ugh! Scott! I was so gonna give him a taste of my rosewood guitar, but everyone held me back. In the end, Mr. Shapiro said he'd be talking with our moms after school. Scott and his mom had already left before my mom came. Mr. Shapiro told her that I was a violent hothead who always dressed inappropriately. I waited for my mom to defend me, but she simply apologized.
I'll talk to her about this later. Please excuse her behavior. She has never been to school before.
Who was this woman and what had she done to my mother? Later, I told my mom how terrible school was. The constant staring and teasing, the way that everyone seemed to be a little afraid of me. Contrary to my expectations, she told me I should try harder to blend in, and she even had bought me normal clothes for school. Mom, clothes are my self-expression. I'm not changing just to fit in. What happened to you? Didn't you teach me to be myself?
I did, but now I need you to blend in so you can make friends.
I had to leave before bursting into tears. I couldn't stay in the stuffy apartment any longer, so I went out the window, climbed down the fire escape, and just ran away. But at one point, I realized I didn't know where to go, so I wandered around until I bumped into the Fosters, who insisted on walking me back home. Strangely, Scott seemed less annoying now, and kept looking awkwardly at me the whole way home. My mom was clearly surprised to see me when she opened the door. I felt like a joke, because she hasn't even noticed my rebellious great escape. I couldn't sleep that night. After thinking it over, I came to the conclusion that I could get my old life back if I found my dad. If only I knew how. The next morning at school, I went looking for the tools I needed to find my dad. Compass, flashlight, map. Scott?
What are you up to in there?
You first. I wanted to apologize for what happened in music class yesterday. Your turn. I'm gathering what I need to go find my dad, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. Stop you? It looks like you need help. Those things may have helped you hundreds of years ago, but these days we just use the internet. I didn't want Scott's help, but maybe he was right. I had no clue where to start, and I could hardly even figure out how to use my cell phone. Maybe I need a little help to learn about the internet. Follow me. Scott spent that afternoon teaching me the basics of the internet. He also asked about my old life, and I found myself telling him everything. All the things I missed and hated about this new life. To my surprise, he was understanding. His mother was a single mom too, and it had been years since he heard from his father. After that day, I thought I hated him a bit less. About a week later, I felt like I was ready to start my search. Little did I know, Googling my dad's name would give me literally millions of results. I was about to give up when I saw some people looking for their dogs. That just gave me an idea. I printed as many flyers as the library would allow, and spent the next day putting them up around the neighborhood. I was surprised by a strange phone number. Hello?
Yeah, hi. I just saw a clueless hippie wandering around, and I think they matched the description you provided.
I was over the moon by how quick I got a response. But then I saw Scott, half a block away, grinning at me with a cell phone in his hand. That internet thing you taught me is useless. Finding people is not that fast, even with the internet. Your best bet would be the database at the police station. Are you sure you... I didn't need to hear any more words and immediately flagged down a police car passing by. Over here, officer! The officer pulled over and rolled down his window. Morning, sir. Please take us to the station.
What are you kids doing? Where are your parents?
Well, I'm looking for my dad. I heard the officer speak into his intercom, saying he was bringing a lost child back to the station. Well, that's not what I meant, but whatever does the job, I guess. As he led me into the back of the car, I remembered. Sir, he's with me. Should we bring him too?
Correction, 2 lost kids.
Scott was obviously stunned as the police officer escorted us into his car. It's hilarious. Of course, I need my sidekick with me to help me find that database thingy. Shortly after arriving at the station, the officer left the room to get us some water. As soon as the door closed behind him, I sprung into action. I had to look in every corner, but Scott wasn't helping. Come help me. Where could that database thingy be in this room? What? No, dummy. It's in here. Then he jumped to the computer and did some clicking. Type your dad's name here. Keep an eye out. In an instant, a file with my dad's info came up. I printed it out and sprinted home before the ink could dry. My heart was pounding as I dialed my dad's number.
Hey, yo!
Dad, it's so good to hear your voice.
Who is this?
It's me, Dad. Complete silence on the other end. Did I call the wrong number? It's me? Nova?
Nova! Glad to hear from you. Guess what, kid? I've been up to all kinds of adventures.
Then he talked to me about his amazing trips that I would have loved to be on. Then I asked where he was so I could go find him.
I live in the moment, my little birdie. I go where the road takes me.
Please, Dad, let me tag along.
Okay, meet me at the exit of the interstate at 10 p.m. tomorrow.
He ended the call before I could say anything else. I felt the sudden urge to cry for some reason. They must be happy tears. I was finally seeing my dad again. But how could I get there? Maybe my sidekick Scott could help me. If he had made it back from the police station. Oopsies! I ran to Scott's apartment, and to my surprise, he answered the door. Hey, how did you get home? Once I explained to the officer that you were just a little eccentric, he let me go. I'm sorry I left you there. I wasn't really thinking. Oh, I spoke to my dad, and he's picking me up tomorrow night. So, I need your help to get to the highway.
The highway? What kind of parent asks his 14-year-old to meet him at the highway at night? Did he even ask you how you were doing? Or your mom? He clearly doesn't care at all.
Wait, yeah, he really didn't ask. But Dad probably was just busy. We can talk all about it tomorrow when we meet anyway. How dare Scott think ill of him? What do you know about my dad? He's a free spirit, and I should be traveling with him. Life's all about being spontaneous. My mom doesn't even understand it anymore, so I don't expect you to. But if you don't want to help me, fine. I'll figure it out myself. Then I stormed off. The night after, I was struggling with Google Maps. My phone was suddenly snatched out of my hand.
I'll take you there. You might get lost if you go alone.
I was still a little upset about yesterday, but that was nice of him. Plus, Scott was right. I would get lost on my own. We arrived early and waited. The hours dragged by, so I called Dad several times but no answer. When I saw it was past 11 p.m., my call finally came through.
Oh man, you were there now? Our bus passed Savannah a while ago. We're having a grand party. You should see. Oh, well, maybe we'll cross paths again soon. Bye, little birdie.
He hung up right away. I noticed Scott watched me for a reaction, but I couldn't hold it in and burst into tears. Scott got us on the bus to go home. I was sobbing the entire way and couldn't talk through all the tears. Eventually, Scott spoke up.
When my parents divorced, I spent a lot of time being mad at my mom too. I couldn't understand why she didn't make my dad stay.
But she did try to, right?
Nope, she just accepted it. And I eventually realized that she wasn't weak like I had thought. She chose to stay to make sure my life was normal. Leaving would have been easy. And what she did, keeping the lights on, actually took a lot more strength.
What Scott said sounded surprisingly mature. After that, we sat in silence for a while. I understood what Scott was saying, but I didn't think it applied to my case. My mom was just not the person she used to be. We arrived home very late. Before we parted, Scott said,
"Why don't you ask your mom why she decided to settle down here? Kids don't always understand why parents do certain things. Maybe you should hear her out."
I nodded and took a deep breath before opening the door. My mom was on the phone with the cops, and as soon as she saw me, she ran to give me the biggest hug I had gotten in a long time. She asked me where I'd been, and I told her everything. How I tried to find Dad, how he stood me up, and things Scott said earlier. She listened to me attentively, then said what Dad did was terrible, but not exactly out of character.
You know how we stopped by a town from time to time? Working temporary jobs like waiting tables and washing cars, right? What you didn't know is that your father always messed up and got fired a few days after he started. So he decided that he'd look after you while I worked.
I didn't realize how hard Mom had always been working while me and Dad were just carelessly having fun. Then I asked why she chose that life in the first place.
When I met him, I was working a 9-to-5 job that I hated, while your dad was all about, the world is a book, traveling makes you a storyteller. Of course, that sounded fascinating, so I quit my job and set myself free on the RV we bought.
But why did you decide to settle down after all these years?
After having you, I realized our wandering life wasn't a good environment for a kid. I was worried you'd have a hard time once you got older, especially because your dad wasn't being helpful and was only being a bad example for you. Besides, homeschooling is difficult. We aren't teachers. You deserve to grow up in a stable home, have friends your age, and create deep connections with them.
I got you two, and people we met from all over the country.
That's not enough, honey. I thought I should give you a normal life while you're still young. You'll be better prepared to make your own decisions later as an adult. It was unfair to you, because you didn't choose that life. We did.
The resentment I had towards my mom melted away.
In its place was a profound gratitude for all that she sacrificed. I wasn't good with words, so I told her that the best way I could. Do you miss our old life? Well, yes, but for now, you're my #1 priority. After the hurt's gone, it was time to heal. I tried to focus on my lessons and learn the rules. My mom even helped me pick out clothes that were more appropriate for school, but still felt like me. I tried my best to enjoy the same movies as other kids and learned to play their favorite songs on my guitar. Soon enough, they became my new friends. I continued to grow even closer to Scott, my friend and partner in crime, from the start. Still, my mom and I agreed that we shouldn't totally abandon our love for travel, and she promised that we would plan a few big road trips every year, starting this summer. I can hardly wait for our trip to Niagara Falls with Mrs. Foster and Scott.